Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Today is going to be another my thoughts on sort of video, and whilst originally I planned to talk about the New York Toy Fair and the reveals there because, well, there's some lovely looking models come out of that. Instead, I changed my mind. I wanted to have a bit more of a rambly sort of discussion type thing, and what I wanted to talk about today is kind of a real combination of things. I want to talk about the end of a hobby project, how you go about finishing a hobby project. I'll probably touch on burnout and all the things that are related to that whilst I'm here. The burnout probably should get its own video. And I also want to talk about the projects that you can never finish. That one true army that you know, as much as you can step away from it for a while, you'll always find yourself going back to. So as is quite often when I do these sort of discussions, I want to give some context as to why I'm talking about it. So last night I was working on my Daughters of Cain. I was just painting up some Melisai to get that army up to 2,000 points. And when I get to 2,000 points, I'm probably going to finish the army in the project. There'll be one more episode of An Elven Adventure. Don't worry about that. But whilst I was doing it, I kind of got a little bit bored because I was just painting the same thing over and over. So I decided to take a break and go and build one of the boxes of orcs that I got for Christmas. I only built one model, and that is this model right here. It's in sub-assemblies at the moment. This is a flash kit. This is my Captain McSpray and Pray, because he has all the bullets in the world, and despite giving him all the lasers to try and help him aim, he never uses them because he's spray and pray, and there's bullets flying everywhere. That's the idea. Whilst I was doing it, I remembered just how fun orcs were. I was looking through this kit and all the options in the kit because, my god, the Flash Kits kit has so many options, it's gorgeous. And I kind of remembered just how awesome my orcs are, and it's something that's actually happened to me many times in the past. I've worked on my orcs, which are my first army. I've had them for over 10 years now. I've worked on my orcs, stepped away for a bit, gone and done something else, and I've always found my way back. Always found my way back to the orcs, working on a new subset of units, working on new models, whatever it happens to be, I'm always coming back to them. They're almost like... This is going to sound incredibly corny, but it's it's the nearest talkie video to Valentine's Day, so I can probably get away with it. To quote Friends, they're almost like my lobster army. I just keep going back to them over and over and over again. No matter what happens, I can always go back to my orcs, and I can always have fun working on my orcs and playing with my orcs. They're just the best. They are the best. They are my true army. Yeah, they just are. They're awesome. And this is what gave me the whole inspiration for this video, because I'm coming to the end of one project, that being my Daughters of Cain and An Elven Adventure. I'm gearing up to start another one that's going to be probably Gloomspite Gits, unless something truly out of nowhere comes along and takes my breath away. But in the meantime, I'll be going back to my orcs. I've got a few models I got over Christmas, and I'll be gearing just back into... just stepping away from Sigmar for a minute after I finish my Daughters of Cain, do those orcs, and then go in on the Gloomspite Gits. And so, with this video, I wanted to talk about how you get about finishing a project, and also talk about those projects that you can't finish. The projects that belong to armies that just either mean too much, or that you put too much time into to ever give up on them now. So how do you go about finishing a hobby project? Because it's all well and good saying, oh, how you start a hobby project. In fact, I made a video about that several months ago. Might have even been nearly a year ago now. But I made a video about starting a project, but finishing a project is actually one of the more difficult things to do, because it's a matter of knowing when to stop. Every one of us, I'm sure, has got a project where it's outstayed its welcome. We've done one too many models or one too many blocks of 1,000 points, and we just don't want to finish it. We played too many games, and now we're kind of sick of the army, and we don't want to finish off that unit that we were adding in. We've all had those projects, I'm sure, or at least I know I have. I've had it on 4 separate occasions that I can think of. In fact, just looking around my room, I can see 4 armies where I've got, or I can see 3 armies where I've got units unfinished because I just never wanted to finish them and I moved on to something else. So you've got to know when to call time on a hobby project and say, right, I'm done, next. I can come back to it later if I want in a few months or a few years, but that's it for now. You need to be able to do that. And what I recommend you do is, it's part of the planning procedure. When you're planning a project, sometimes it's worth setting a goal of, this is where I want to get to, and if I do any more, so be it. So you say, I want 3,000 points of Flesh Eater Courts, let's say. They've just got a new book, they're topical. I want 3,000 points of Flesh Eater Courts. I've got a rough idea of what I want my army list to be. That's what I'm going to build. I'm going to focus on these models and this battalion, and so on. Or it might be, I've read about, in Vigilus Defiant, the new detachment for the Imperial Fists, let's say. And you want to build an army based around that. So you draft up you get all the units that are boosted by that battalion. You then add in some extra things, maybe to benefit from the Imperial Fist chapter tactics, to benefit from the new bolter drill, or so on and so forth. And you just keep going for a bit. But it's worth setting a sort of baseline goal in mind for the army, not a sort of, this is where I want to finish, a sort of, this is where I want to get to before I'm happy. So set yourself a minimum goal. Maybe it's 2,000 points. Maybe it's filling out a certain battalion or detachment. Maybe it's filling out a certain narrative build that you saw in a book or online. Whatever it happens to be, set yourself that minimum goal and say to yourself almost, right, if I get to that, I'm happy and I can step away. You don't have to set it as the final end goal, and to be honest, I don't recommend that you do unless you're building it specifically for a tournament or for a very, very focused narrative. But set that goal. And that way, you know when you get there, it's like, right, that's where I wanted to get to. I can step away now. And if you don't want to set those goals, or you reach that goal and you think, no, I want to keep going, just make sure that you don't overcommit yourself. So don't buy 3 more boxes after you reach your targets and think, yeah, I'm going to get through all of these, and then 4 months later you haven't because something new came out, or the army got nerfed and you no longer really want to run it, or something happened, because we've all had it. Otherwise, I know I have, and I'm sure many people I've spoken to have as well, where you run out of steam. So try, once you reach your goal or you think you're starting to burn out, either step away, buy something else or work on something else, or just buy one thing at a time. 1 box of dudes, 1 hero, 1 tank, 1 monster. Don't go nuts, because otherwise you're going to end up with a pile of boxes sat off to one side and you're just going to think, oh, I don't want to finish this. Because that's the worst thing that can happen, because at that point, you've wasted your money. You've wasted your time, you've wasted your money, and if that was a very rare box or the last one in stock, then you just cost it for somebody else. Just something to keep in mind. So keep in mind, when you are getting toward an end goal or when you're setting goals, don't overcommit yourself too early so that you can get to a natural endpoint. And if you find yourself suffering with burnout, because burnout is very, very common in my experience, make sure you have something on standby that you can step away and do in order to motivate yourself to finish the project later. It might be you have 2 armies, 1 for each game system, and as you work on one, once you start to burn out with that game system, you step away, you go to the other game system, you work on the army that's in there for a bit, and then once you're feeling better and on those models look a little bit more appealing again, you come back. Whatever it so happens to be, just make sure you have a plan for dealing with burnout, and make sure that you have, as far as possible, a goal so that you can get that. And when you get to the end of the project, as you start to think, right, I'm not going to be doing anymore, I'm not going to buy any more, make sure that you get the army to a point where you're not going to feel guilty about stepping away from it. So don't leave yourself with 2 boxes unfinished because you just can't handle it. Try and get it to a nice round points limit, or to just finish off that unit that you've started and has got a couple more models to do, or whatever it happens to be. Don't leave any models half painted, don't leave any units half painted, and then feel free once you get to a point you can say, yep, That's a nice number. That's a nice build. I can step away now and then step away. Because if you keep pushing through, it's like, no, I want to do one more. I need to do one more. I think I can do one more. At that point, the more times you say that to yourself, you're going to eventually burn out and not be able to finish it. And think, yeah, I can do that next unit of 10 guys, and then you get 5 guys through, and you think, actually, no, I can't. And then you've got half a box sat there doing nothing. So don't over push yourself if you feel yourself starting to hit the limiter. And feel free to just jump to something else once you get to that sort of natural limit. Let it run its course and then step away. But of course, that wasn't what inspired this video. What inspired this video was partly me getting a little bit bored painting Daughters of Cain, because painting the same model 10 times is a little bit dull. It's those projects that you can keep coming back to. And if you have one of these projects, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They are the projects that, no matter how many times you work on them and then leave them, you can always just come back to it, always add a little bit more. It may be because of nostalgia. It may be because of investment. It may be because of competition. It may be because of narrative. Whatever it is, I'm sure there are at least some of you watching this, you have those projects that you just keep going back to, even though you don't have to. You've long hit the limiter of, I've got enough for this army. I can build whatever I want out of this army. But you keep going back. And as I said, for me, that's the Orcs. I have a green tide of over 100 and nearly 150 models. I have a vehicle core of Battle Wagon, Death Dread, Killer Cans, spare Killer Cans made out of other converted Dreadnoughts. I've got heavily armored elites. I've got big guns. I've got a Stomper. The only thing I don't have is a Flyer, pretty much. And I've got a Speed Freak core built around bikers, Death Copters, and Storm Boys. And I've got 2 new vehicles as well now that I'm going to be working on. But I keep coming back. I keep coming back. And it's not a bad thing. It's, for all it might sound a little bit creepy and a little bit weird that I keep going back to this project after 10, 11 years, it's no bad thing. The Orcs are, for me, my perfect relief from whatever I'm working on. My sort of painting-oriented chill and comfort food when I'm fed up of slightly more competitive-minded Stormcast builds, or if I've painted way too much pale flesh and shiny silver, I can just go back to my Orcs, which is my basically comfort food in painting form, and just go nuts. And the beauty of the Orcs, for me in particular, is that they're so versatile that I can build whatever I want, and they're so diverse that I can sort of play whatever I want and get away with it. And the models all look so awesome that I'm going to love the build, whatever it so happens to be. So I can go back through the Orc Codex and think, but I want one of those. But I want one of those. But I want one of those. And I want one of those. And I want one of those. And I want a block of this. And I want to try this detachment. I want to try this. And that doesn't happen with my Tau. It doesn't happen with my Daughters. It doesn't happen with my Stormcast. It doesn't even happen that much with the Gloomspite that I'm thinking of working on. I have a very specific build in mind for that army. And once I've made that build, with the exception of like 3 or 4 units maybe, I'm not going to go outside that. I'm going to very much stay in one lane with that army, because that's what interests me from the builds. So yeah, if you have one of those projects, then embrace it. If you have an army that you just think, wait, I've already done so much with this, but why do I want to do more? Don't decide, oh, I've got enough, I really shouldn't go back to them. If you want to go back, because it is the best way to avoid burnout is to work on something you enjoy. And burnout is one of the most dangerous things, in my opinion, that you can have as a hobbyist. Whether it's a competitive burnout, a painting burnout, or even a lore burnout if you don't like the direction of the narrative, because I know there are people out there who don't like the direction of the narrative, come at me comments. Whatever it is, burnout is exceptionally dangerous to staying in the hobby. Like, this channel was founded because I had burnout and I wanted to do something else with 40k. Genuinely, this channel is a result of burnout, and so if you're worried about burnout and you have a way that you can avoid that and do something you enjoy, even if you think you've got enough of it. Go nuts! Work on that extra unit. Add that extra new character that they just added. Experiment with that new detachment that you're just a couple of models short of finishing. Whatever it is, go for it. Because by doing so, you can re-energize your love for that army, you can re-energize your love for that faction, for that game system, and for the hobby in general. It's a beautiful thing if you have a project like that. And if you don't, that's completely fine as well. Not everybody finds that project that they can always go back to. For some people, it might be their first army because they have nostalgia. It certainly is for me. I have a lot of nostalgia for the Orcs, and they're also super hilarious, have a huge array of units, and so on, and amazing models as well. It really does help. But some people, it might be a certain character set. You can just go back to and expand the army around them. Whatever it is, if you don't have one, don't worry. But if you stumble on one, embrace it. Run wild with it. And if you feel yourself burning out on it, step away, as I talked about earlier in the video. But if you feel the call to go back to it, go back. Embrace the madness. It's the best thing you can do for keeping yourself energized for the hobby. Anyway, I realise I banged on for over 15 minutes, and I probably didn't make that much sense. My rambly videos can get very incoherent at times, but I hope that made sense, and I hope we got a little bit of useful advice across while I was at it. So, look forward to the end of an Elfin adventure. I've probably got 1 or 2 more episodes, plus the full showcase for the new stuff that I'll probably do, so look forward to those if I get time to finish the models. And look forward to seeing some new Orcs on the channel. I don't know if they'll just be shown off in battle reports, but because I've got a couple of new kits, I think I'll certainly get them done and maybe show them off in a special army before I dive into a new project, which will probably be Gloomspite Gits, unless something else comes along. But for now, thank you for watching Tactica Imperialis. This has been my thoughts on finishing projects and hobby burnout, I suppose. Very, very loosely anyway. Just a winding ramble about project endings. So thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below, and yeah, I'll see you all again. Bye for now.